Oops, sorry about that. Again, what's up YouTube? What's up Facebook? Um, I'm here today making a Wait What video out of my Wait What series, which in case you didn't know is basically videos just about ridiculously stupid or hypocritical things that happen in the world, just to kind of get a laugh out of them. So I'm trying to decide whether or not it's better to specifically name this place or not name it. So for the time being, I'll try to do the better thing and just say, so I live right now in Las Vegas, in Nevada, and I got a job at an upper class restaurant. Now, for what it's worth, I've been around large sums of money before. I've wasted large sums of money before. I've heard people talk about large sums of money before. Money doesn't, I enjoy money and I get, I like spending money. I like having money. I like making money, all that. But I don't get intimidated by money. I don't trust in money, and I don't worship money. So for people to, I judge people by how they act and how they carry themselves and how they treat other people, and not by their clothes or their income or their whatever it is. So now that's not the same as someone, if you ever see or heard me acting terrible towards a homeless person, it would probably be because of their behavior or because they're not treating, like, to me, it's not, if you don't want to, if you don't feel like, if you live your life and you go about your day, but like, that's not the same as like, peeing in the street or peeing all over yourself or having feces in your clothes or in, and going into a public eating area. Like, for example, the other day I was at a McDonald's and this homeless guy that just smelled like straight urine. Like, he obviously had urinated all over himself or laid in urine or whatever. And he's standing right at the part where you pick up food. And to me, if you live your life and you have a place to stay and live and you don't, you get up and you go about and you're not, that's your body, that's your life. If you're not intentionally putting your scent or your voodoo out on other people, that's one thing. But if you go about your life, intentionally putting your release on other people, that's a completely different thing. And in that point, you're using demons to do that. You're using Satan to use voodoo and telekinesis and whatever towards other people. It's not a good thing. It's not something that, and if it is a good thing for you and those people, keep it between you and those people. Don't put it on people that don't want it, because as soon as you do that, you're trespassing on someone else's life. But that's not the same as like, oh, I can't wear the same pair of clothes for 2 days, or oh, I have to shower every time. It's a very, very gray area of human life. But let's be real. Before any technology or civilization, the natives didn't have that type of worry because they were just living the only life they knew. It wasn't something that they were worried about, because using the bathroom and eating and bathing was a natural part of life. It wasn't something that some people have a better opportunity to do, or some people don't have an opportunity to do, or whatever. So, example being in this case, the homeless guy who is standing in McDonald's and smells like urine so bad, he to me he's disrespecting the rest of the restaurant. If he wants to buy food or do something, figure it out, but don't go like, And here's my way of explaining this to anyone else. Oh, well, if you feel bad for him, no. In jail or in prison, someone like that gets beat up and clowned. They don't get treated special. If you smell like urine or feces in prison or jail, in the places that I went to prison or jail, you don't get a pass. You don't get treated special. You get either beat up or you get sent to the shower. So for him to sit there like he's some special victim and he needs to stand in the restaurant is a joke. And he's most likely doing it as some type of possession, some type of deal with the devil to bother other people and to make other people it was probably specifically me, because in that area there was a whole bunch of annoying Hells Angels who sit in their trucks, or excuse me, Hells Angels affiliates, and have these bums who run around and give them oral sex because they're homosexuals for drugs, and then they strike up deals with the devil. Oh, there's a Christian person, or there's a person who doesn't do our drugs or perform sexual acts with us, so we're gonna make him go in the restaurant and smell like urine, and it's stupid and it's pathetic, and that's their way of life, so that's on them. But I'm gonna treat that person with the same amount of hate and disdain as a rich person who's in a restaurant acting snooty or special, not because that rich person smells like cologne and Mercedes-Benz, but because they're both thinking that they're better than someone else, or they have a right to step on someone else, and they don't, because that stupid bum who's in there doing that so he can get high or get because I doubt he's doing it for food or water. He feels like he has the right to step on the customer's life, and the rich, because whatever reason he thinks he does, and the rich person feels like he has the right to step on the whoever else life because he's rich. It's a superiority complex from both degrees, and I don't agree with either one of them. So back to the topic of the video. It's Wait What? It's a Wait What video. And so what happened was I got a job and I'm really, excuse me, good Lord, that's so rude, I'm sorry. I'm really having a hard time figuring out whether or not I should say this restaurant's name. I don't think I would go so far as to name people's names, because that's a little weird, but like, I'll pray about it and I'll figure it out. So sorry, I got these three girls walking in front of me right now, and they can't seem to want the biggest and tallest girl with the weirdest haircut. Seems like they're gonna try to strike up some worry witching on me. Like they don't think that there's something going on. So I send this part I have to say this. So it's a Jewish restaurant. So they claim, as a Jewish person or whatever, whatever they claim to be, that means that they would say that they are people of God. So me being a Christian, I don't hate, I have a lot of German descent and Austrian descent and Scandinavian descent. I don't agree with what Hitler did, but I also, without doing lengths of research, or I'm not speaking on the deaths of those people, but I also don't think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think those were the same Israelites and Hebrews that he was killing in Germany. I just don't. Just because there's so much tension between Russia and Germany of that time, and there still is between the Ukraine and Russia, and just between that whole concept of like both nations having like certain groups of people that are like bastardized by the main population, that they want to like kill them. It's not the same as like the Hebrews and the Israelites that like Moses led out. It's, to me, it's not. And if I'm wrong, then I hope God corrects me. But I'm a Christian. I consider myself a child of God. I have 100% faith and trust in that. So I have one picture of myself, because when I take a picture of myself, I think of, or when I get a picture taken of myself, I think of God. Because I think, hey, I want in the picture to appear as I appear before God, because that's who my creator is. That's who my father is. So I have one picture of myself where I'm dressed up and I look kind of like a Jew from New York, like one of the Jewish people. I think they're called Hasidic Jews or whatever. And I don't mean to say Jews in a derogatory term. I look like one of the Jewish people from New York because I have a hat on and I have formal clothing. And I look like one of the Jewish people in New York who walks around shopping and goes in with their hats and their braids. But I didn't have braids or anything like that. But that's what I looked like in this picture, because I was clearly thinking about God in the picture. So in this, so they posted an ad on Craigslist, and they were looking for bussers, servers, cooks, all of it, right? So they say, send a picture and say, da, da, da. So they say, text me back, hey, come to the restaurant, have an interview. So I put it off for like 2 weeks, and I finally go there, and he says the general manager says he's going to hire me, who's not, for what the worth of the story is, he's not the Jewish person. The owner of the restaurant is, and I think some of his staff, but not him. He's an American general manager for restaurants. So, and he has no problem cussing or being hurtful or lying towards his workers. So that right there, he's ignoring the 10 commandments of God, or he's to some degree, and breaking the modern commandments of Christ as we were taught. And that's just, so he obviously isn't honoring the Jewish traditions as they claim to be. The Hebrew, whatever you are, you're not. I know there's a lot of Jewish people who don't accept Christ, or it's prophesied that the Jewish people would not accept their Savior or don't believe it. I get that. I'm not there to preach. I'm not there to accuse people. But if you're going to tell me that you're an Old Testament believer and that's what you live by, and you're going to name your restaurant after that, or you're going to call your restaurant labeled as that, but you don't honor those Old Testament traditions, then you're a fraud and a hypocrite, and you're the people who crucified Jesus, my king. So I get this job, and it's a very nice restaurant. It's the nicest restaurant I've ever worked at. Excuse me again. I'm so sorry for disrespecting my viewers by burping. I apologize. I do my best. And so the claim to fame for this restaurant is that they age their beef. Now, the thing is with this is that I worked in a meat department. So you're not, I didn't get a chance to eat any of the food besides a little pizza that they made for everybody. And I'm not here to attack the fact that they claim to be fancy. Now, if you want to charge people $700 for a meal, or $600 or $300, I don't see it. I am not rich enough today to go spend that much money. I'm sure I will be someday. My faith in God tells me that. But I didn't see it there. I didn't, just the quality of the workers and the cleanliness of the restaurant in terms of witchcraft and flatulence in the air and release of ejaculation. I mean, I'm not saying there's people jerking off and pissing and pooping into the air of the restaurant, but when you have witches who exist in the restaurant who agree to those type of satanic deals to release that into the air, And like I said, that doesn't mean that they're grabbing their genitalia and peeing in the restaurant. It doesn't mean that they're pooping in the restaurant or masturbating in the restaurant. But if you believe that your ejaculation or your release of bodily fluid is going to enter into someone else's food or someone else's body, then that is a form of witchcraft. It's not a godly thing by my standards in any sort of way, and it's mentioned in the Bible. You're not going to tell me that peeing on someone's food or using urine as a spiritual tool is a good thing. You're not going to tell me that eating feces or having breathing feces or defecation is a good thing. All good things come from God, so everything bad must come from Satan. And you're not going to tell me that, I mean, for a woman, I get where sexual release and bodily fluid can be attractive for men and women of the opposite sex or homosexuals, but in no way are you going to tell me that another man's ejaculation is good for my body or my mind or my spirit. Or are you going to convince me that it's appropriate for sexual releases to be happening around other people in public, unless it's like some type of orgy, which even then is like borderline, I shouldn't even be involved because of my spiritual convictions. So all that being said, as soon as I walk in there, I mean, like, there's already people talking, speaking under their breath, spiritually talking about their in a witching, excuse my language, God forgive me, in a witching world, it would be referred to as your shit. You know, somebody needs my shit. My shit's good shit. My shit's bad shit. My shit's in the air. My shit's on your food. You need my shit. It's voodoo. It's witchcraft. And this is supposed to be a Jewish upper class restaurant that costs $700 to $1,000 a meal, $100, $200, $300 for lunch. And no, I'm not going to, I mean, you've already lost my idea of what class and cleanliness is. And upper class living, because that's what class and dignity is to me, is someone who doesn't participate in that type of behavior, even towards and sorry, there's this car right now with a huge antenna on it. And so the manager, as soon as I walk in, I'm getting this spiritual vibe from him. When I go in to get an interview, he's like putting his shit on me. And excuse my language, but I don't know how else to put it other than besides witching terms. He's putting his shit on me. Because if you feel like someone is shitting on you, like physically, like what it is someone is doing a deal with the devil, and the nerves and the locations of their body, in their intestines, in their stomach, or in their colon, are releasing air that's contaminated by fecal matter into your body, and it's living voodoo they want to influence you or change you or whatever. Someone farting in the toilet or farting in their room or farting in their car and just getting the air out of their body is not the same as someone who either allows that release to happen, which would be the opposite of copping, or intentionally releases that to influence other people. There's a huge difference between what, I'm going to put it this way, as quickly and cleanly and as professionally as I can put, is there's a difference between using the bathroom as a Christian person and being comfortable and being clean, and intentionally using that disgusting part of life or that natural part of life to influence other people, at which point it becomes disgusting and unnatural to me. So as soon as the interview started, he's putting his shit on me, putting his voodoo in the air on me, and I'm killing it. I'm not going to go over the top and start war and turn it against him, his own, send it back to him, do us to others unto yourself. But I'm not going to sit there and breathe someone else's fart air and be like, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to get the job, or this is what I need in my life. No. But I want the job, so I'm going to be respectful, and I'm going to ignore it and kill it in the air and allow God to give me clean air and a clean body. And I got the job. Now, when he gave me this job, he gave me this whole spiel about how he is about his money and how he is how he's about his money and how he, you know, treats he wants to make sure that everyone gets their money on time. And he basically gave me this whole like kind of like ghettoized like urban version of like yo I shoot straight, like I don't play games. I'm guessing some of the witches from my past, some of the old employers that I had, warned him that like I'm extra prudent and that like if he doesn't like pay me correctly or like do this or that, like I might cause a scene with him. So I think right off the bat he was like, yo, I'm gonna impress this guy and let him know like I pay straight, I pay fair, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, that is awesome. I'm like, that is so refreshing to hear. And like, that's cool, awesome, like, let's do this. And he starts telling me how like he's gonna hire me as the dishwasher, and he's gonna hire me as the dishwasher, and he's gonna, you know, and he's like, do you want to do prep work too? And I'm like, no. I'm like, honestly, no. If you want me to be a dishwasher, I'd rather just be a dishwasher. I don't really like jumping in between jobs. And I told him that right then and there. And there's multiple reasons for that. The biggest one for me is I don't appreciate doing other people's work that they're paid to do, and it creates this niche for people who just pass off their work onto other people. So basically, if you're good at your job and you stay ahead of the curve, then other people will take advantage of that, and you end up picking up slack and like, excuse me, you end up picking up slack and doing work for other people, which is stupid and no good, because you shouldn't be good at your job to pick up other people's work. So he hires me, and then he gives me this whole spiel about how he keeps his word and pays correctly and all this other stuff. And then he doesn't contact me for like a week or like 3 or 4 days. So I finally keep contacting him and telling him like, hey, yo, like I'm ready to start working. I want to start working. And he finally texts me back one day, and he's like, hey, I want to bring you on as a busser and not a dishwasher. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like tips, more like awesome. So I start working for him and the owner for a couple of, for like 6 days in total. And over the course of these days, he does not once keep his word about texting me back on time or doing the things he says he would do. So basically, like if I texted him enough about going to work, he would text me, he would respond and say, okay, come to work. Okay, come today, work at 3 or work at 4. So I take back what I said. He responded when I texted him. But like, let's say if he told me, hey, I'm going to put you in the scheduling system, this computer program, or hey, I'm going to sign you up for the online and you're going to get an email today, that never happened. It took 2 weeks of me texting him and bothering him in order to get accomplished what he promised on the first day he hired me. So all that tells me is A, he's either a liar like he already proved himself to be, or B, he was planning on not keeping me on the team and he was just prolonging the process as long as possible. So that was a red flag. People who don't keep their word about stuff like putting you on a schedule or signing you up for a computer program, that's a red flag to me, because that's something that is unacceptable. To tell an employee that you're going to sign up for their tax papers and do this and do that, and then not the same day you said you're going to do it, is unacceptable from a management position to me. But I ignored it because I needed the work. I wanted the work. And yeah. So I go and I'm giving them 100%. And like usual, everywhere I go, I'm at least getting a little bit of static from some people. It's just how it's always been for me. It's how it's everywhere, my whole life. I don't know if it was after I got my brain surgery. That might have been the biggest factor, was my brain surgery. But my whole life, I've just got unnecessary static and stupidity and criticism and argumentativeness and insult from people. And it pisses me off. And it's to the point where I've gotten into near gunfights with people over it because of stealing or what they've said or whatever. Or to the point of petty stuff, like people trying to get me fired at a job. Now, obviously, when I talk about gunfights, this is like gangbangers on the street, like drug dealers and people who sell guns, illegal guns on the street. That's the market. That's the arena. It wasn't like I would get in a gunfight with a coworker who's trying to get me fired. No. But I work for this company for like 5 or 6 days. I'm ignoring the fact that they claim to be this super fancy rich restaurant, even though half of them are participating in voodoo, which is disgusting in a food environment to me. And I'm ignoring the fact of people insulting me. They made fun of me. They called me a cholo. They may have heard me speaking Spanish to a Mexican person, but like, I didn't talk about gangs. I didn't act, just the scars of my past do that sometimes. They provoke people to say insulting things and usually racist things too. And, out of nowhere, I'm trying to be as polite and respectful as possible. And people just start, oh, hey, cholo, like, da-da-da, and stupid stuff. And like, making fun of the way I talk. When I've had brain surgery. I've fractured my skull medically one time. Another time that was never CAT scanned or x-rayed. But like, I woke up the next day and I had a huge gash in my forehead. You might be able to see the scar right here. But like, and also like, I can feel the bump in my skull. So I'm guessing, and it felt very, very similar to the first time I fractured my skull on the side from skateboarding. So I'm pretty sure I fractured my skull at least twice. Once without 100% sure, and I had brain surgery from that one. And to this day, my own family denies the fact that I had brain surgery, which is insane. And it's just part of that unnecessary static and hatred that I've received in my life. And there's certain things that aren't as easy for me, praise God, or as simple for other people, like communication skills or motor skills or emotional understanding or, stuff like that. And so a lot of times, like, people sometimes think I talk like I'm a little kid, but I'm really trying to be as loving and nice as possible, because sometimes the real me, or the way I would really want to talk to someone. Now, see, when I first meet someone, that is the real me. That love and that kindness and that childlike playfulness is the real me. That's my personality. That's how I've been for a long, long time. And that's just how I am. But when people start making fun of that as if I'm doing it on purpose as some type of joke or ploy, it brings out a whole other side of me that will look at a person, pick them apart like a corn on a cob, and sit and know and just figure out every nasty and mean thing about a person. And this person will go from being my newest best friend who I want to talk to about everything in life to a stupid white trash broke waiter who's never driven a nice car, whose family's never been in a 2-story house, who's never lived in a gated community, who they've been a waiter their whole life and they're 50 years old, they're uneducated, they've never seen more than $20,000 in their life, and they've probably never seen that. And it'll go from 0 to 100 because they want to make fun of the way I talk to them. And that's the way my mind works. Because like I said, I've had multiple head injuries. So part of my brain, praise God, is like this slow, childlike, like loving side. And the other side is like this in-depth, like over-intelligent side that knows too much about people or analyzes about too much to the point where it would be very insulting to someone. Not too much, but anyways. So everything was going good. And then yesterday I went to work and the general manager, the guy who hired me, not the owner, he calls the community meeting. He calls the community meeting for all the employees before the shift starts. So he calls the community meeting and there's this beautiful, beautiful girl who works in the bar. I'm not going to say her name because it would kind of give away the situation, but man, was she beautiful. I would marry her up in a second. She was awesome. And she made a joke or said something jokingly or playfully, and he just destroyed her. He immediately turned around. He was like, just shut up, stop talking, pay attention. She was like, oh, come on. Or she said something like, yes, sir. And he was like, no, really, just shut up, stop talking, pay attention. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of people fucking around. Pay attention to me. This is 100% seriousness. And I was like, whoa. So I'm just like focused on this guy and giving him full respect and attention because he hasn't been this way to me yet. But I felt so bad for her, and it made me want to like hug her and kiss her. Because like I said, I would marry that girl from what I had met her for so far. Now, that's that playful, loving side of me. I never went on a date with her. She could easily say or do one thing that would completely change that statement. But from what I had seen from her and met from her, she was the love of my life. But, so that was a red flag to me, but I ignored it. I was like, whoa, that is way over aggressive. And that is way too much for a manager to be doing towards an employee just for like speaking at the beginning of his group meeting for the employees. But I'm not going to call out the manager, and it wasn't towards me. So I just ignored it and carried on. And he was treating me like I was his henchman. Like he was treating me like, you know, like he was the boss and I was his muscle or whatever. So I was playing along, you know. I'm not gonna, I never spoke to anyone that way, and I didn't support him to do it. But I didn't, but I thought I was his right-hand man. So what happens is, nearing the end of the shift, it's St. Patrick's Day. There's only 13 or 14 tables in the restaurant. Okay, I take that back. There's probably like 16 or 17 tables in the restaurant. It's a super small restaurant, and it's not a hard job. What's hard is what I came to find out, because a lot of the servers there's like 4 or 5 servers at a time. They talked a lot of trash about the manager. They clowned him and they insulted him. But I stayed loyal to him, and I did not participate. But then what I noticed is he rode people extra hard for no reason. He would be insulting and rush people for no reason. So what happened was I was filling waters and he comes up to me. And mind you, the tension's already kind of high because, like I said, I always get static from servers. They don't, if I don't do deals with them, if I don't let the women touch my body and then be a prick to me, then they hate me. They want me to get fired. If I don't, you know, let the server talk about his nut and how he's going to help me with his nut and make me a better worker. And I mean, they don't physically say that, but if you understand voodoo and you know voodoo, that's what it is. There's a huge difference between talking to someone who does or does not believe in voodoo. And once you are aware, and if you aren't aware of it and you want to be aware of it, I pray to God that you become aware of it. But just be warned, it's a burden. It's heavy, because I went through 27 years of my life not being aware of this side of the world. And then after my ex-wife, I became fully aware of this whole world of voodoo. And it's like 8 out of 10 people, at least in the area I was in, like, want to use their shit and their piss and their nut and their dead skin and their blood to try to change you, rather than just talk to you and conversate with you. And it's just disgusting, and it's a conscious and intentional choice. It's not accidental, and it's not nature. It's not. And so out of nowhere, the manager comes up to me, the general manager who hired me, who went on about telling me how much he keeps his word and makes sure that everyone's paid correctly and does his thing and blah, blah, blah. Excuse me, God forgive me. And please, my audience, forgive me. That's disgusting. I apologize. And out of nowhere, he calls me out, and he goes, and this is one of the main weight motives. He calls me out and he goes, hey, he goes, you need to make sure and bust tables when servers ask you to. And I was like, who? And no server had asked me to bust a table. So either he was making up a lie to make me look bad, or someone lied to him and said that they asked me to bust a table because they didn't. And I turned around, I was like, wait, what? And he was like, you need to bust tables when servers ask you to. And I was like, no one asked me to bust a table. And he was like, yeah, they did. And I was like, who? I was like, who asked me to bust a table? And he was like, it doesn't matter who asked you to bust a table. You just should do it anyways. So that was a giant lie. And he sends me over to this table to bust the table. And then while I'm busting the table, and mind you, like I said, now I didn't put this on my application, and I didn't tell him because he claimed to be this honorable, great guy. But like, I've had brain surgery. I've had my ribs broken from an unknown source when I was a kid on my left side that are still cracked in. I think from my older sister or from my mom on accident or something like that. But half of my ribs on half of my body are cracked in, and they've been that way since I was a little kid. And no one in my family would tell me how it happened. And also when I asked my mom, she got really quiet and wouldn't answer me. And also, I've had my kneecap split while skateboarding. I jumped off a balcony while I was drunk and I broke my ankle. Completely did. I never x-rayed it or CAT scanned it, but completely did something to my ankle. I've been stabbed, and I've had my part of my, whether it's my deltoid or my bicep, cut down to almost the bone from a person trying to commit suicide. So my whole left arm was weak and has been weak for like 2 years, but I just started doing physical therapy on it on my own behalf and recovering from that. But like the nerve, and also that the brain surgery and the fracture, the whole left side of my body has pretty much been like damaged, and that's cool. I love who I am. I walk through it with him on every part of it. I love who I am. I love what it made me. But like my motor skills, especially when someone's stressing me out, like I'm not slow when it comes to building things or mechanics or math. I'm not slow when it comes to sports or anything like that. But when you start confronting me with negative energy, it triggers a side of my brain that I've always had a harder time handling because of that, as far as I know, because of that brain surgery. So he comes up to me after he just lied to my face and was extremely rude to me. And with the customers in front of me, he starts telling me, go faster, go faster, go faster, go faster. And it's just like unbelievable to me. So at this point, he's just making me go slower. And he's triggering that side of me that wants to physically fight him. And it's just like, and then there's this, and then it's like the whole restaurant wants to make me cry or something like that, because, and little do they know that that whole part, you know, that movie, The Joker, and how he has that phenomenon where he busts up laughing or crying at random times. Yeah, that's real. And just because they put it in the Joker movie doesn't mean that it actually affects people and that it's actually a real thing. And that's why I kind of hate that movie. I love that movie because it's the Joker, and I have the Joker tattooed on my body, and I've always been a fan of the Joker before any of the Suicide Squad movies or before any of the Joker movies. I've always been a fan of the Joker, but that movie doesn't give the condition due justice, because if I go get a pistol and start shooting everyone who makes fun of me because I get angry easy, or I laugh easily, or I cry easily, I love crying. It's a gift from God. But people don't know that I have that. I've had these brain injuries, and they try to take advantage of it, and they feed off evil, and they think, oh, this person's suffering and crying, and we want to make him suffer and cry because he thinks he's a gangster, or he thinks he's a tough guy, and we're going to make him cry. So at that point, that's a huge red flag. So I just ignore it, and I just keep reminding myself to be loyal and be kind and be merciful and just be a good person and do my job. So then and I'm going to wrap it up because this is way longer than I expected it to be. So then at the end of the night, I go back into the kitchen, and I have to do a reminder here. This is supposed to be some fancy Jewish restaurant, people of God, who, you know, and he gave me this whole spiel about how he treats all his employees fairly and pays them fairly, and he's so strict and so hardcore about treating people fairly and paying people the right wages, right? And he even went so far as to make it, like I said, like ghetto fabulous, like yo, I'm all about my money, like I keep it by the books, that's just who I am, like to try to relate with me on some level or something. I don't know. So I go back there, and the quote unquote head chef, which is a complete joke. It's this guy who walks around and like drinks wine at the end of the night. I don't know why everyone think what the point of his job is, or who he, like, what his novelty is, but like, to me, he didn't do me any favors, and he never proved to me that he was anything special besides good looking and tattooed for the ladies. And so I go back into the kitchen, and this was the company that I offered to work as their dishwasher for $12 an hour, $12.50 or something like that. And they went so far as to hire me as a busser at $10.50 an hour, and specifically change my job title, and gave me a speech about being fair about money. And now that I think about it, I do need to mention their name. The name of the restaurant is 138 Restaurant 138. It's in Henderson, Nevada. And now the more I think about it, I do need to mention their name. So, and if I feel bad later on in life, I'll delete the video. But for the time, so they gave me this whole spiel about hiring, and but whatever the case, so I go into the kitchen, and out of nowhere, the head chef, he goes, "Hey, you think you can help the dishwasher out for a little bit?" And it's like, what? Like, so I'm a busser. I'm getting paid $2 less than the job I offered to do. And now they want me to go back and bust my balls doing the dishwashing job, which is obviously dirtier. It's more laborious. It's not as easy and peaceful as standing in the dining room and bussing tables. That's why they get paid more by the hour. And I'm like, and so I look at him and I'm like, dude, that's a different wage. And he's like, what, really? I'm like, yeah, it's a different wage. I'm not going to do the job that I offered to do at the lower wage now that you're paying me to be a busser. And he's like, oh, sorry, man, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay. And I said it lovingly, and I said it peacefully, and I said it respectfully. So I go back out in the dining room, and then they tell me I'm cut because it's the end of the night, and I'm waiting for my tips. And everyone's, giving me low tips because I challenge them about their stupid voodoo, or about them touching my body, or about them speaking down to me, or whatever it was. So I'm like, okay, be nice, be merciful, be kind, be nice, be loving, be kind. So I go up to the general manager because he hasn't even given me a schedule yet, which he said he's been gonna do for the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted to know, like, what, do you want me to work? I was like, can you please, do you want me to work on Saturday and Sunday? And he does this first I tap him on his shoulder and he ignores me. Like just like the punk that he is, because he's already proved to me that he's a liar. So he ignores me, and he treats me like trash again, and speaks down to me, and speaks less to me, and he finally turns around and he does this whole dramatic thing, and he dots this personal check, and he says, "Come outside with me." And I haven't spoke rude to him. I've done everything he's asked. I even pretended to be his henchman while he was being this nasty and rude manager towards everybody. So I'm giving him 110%, right? And I'm pretty sure this guy even went so far as to piss on the aprons at the restaurant, or piss, like someone was pissing on the aprons and the paper towels, and doing some gay, pissy, borderline Hell's Angels gay stuff that so annoying and disgusting. And now the black witches are doing it too. Like, I care if it's a black witch or a Hell's Angel, keep it in your pants, you filthy parasite. So anyways, so he calls me outside and he hands me a check and he goes, "Matt, this is going to be your first and your final check from us." And I go, "Well, really?" I'm like, "Why?" Or I don't remember. He goes, "You aren't allowed to go into the kitchen and tell the head cook that you aren't going to wash dishes." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "If it's a team effort, and if we work together, we work together." And I was like, his name was Gene. I was like, "Gene, but you told me that you're all about your money and paying people fairly and doing the right, fair work and keeping everyone's job and their own responsibilities." And he goes, "No, that was the owner that said that." And it was such a blatant, stupid lie. The day that he hired me, the owner wasn't even there. He gave me a whole speech walking me through the restaurant alone. Just him. And it was such a stupid, blatant lie, I couldn't even entertain it. I felt like I was dealing with my ex-wife, who was a lying whore. But anyway, so I told him, I was like, "You told me that dishwashers make $12 an hour and bussers make $10 an hour. So why would I go back and pay?" And he was like, "Well, the head chef would have given you an extra $20 at the end of the night." And I was like, "No one told me that. No one said anything about that to me." And he goes, "Oh, well, he would have done it. He would have thrown you an extra $20 for helping out with the dishwasher." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "You can't expect me to know that without someone telling me. And plus, you hired me as a busser." So at this point, he's lying out of the side of his neck, and I just told him, "You know what? I took the check and I said, thank you, goodbye. You fired me. There's nothing. You want me out of your restaurant. I'm not going to sit there and argue with the liar. I'm not going to cast my pearls before swine. So shout out to you, you quote unquote Jewish restaurant who claim to be people of God. Wait, what? You guys are a joke. I mean, your menu's overpriced. They sell aged beef, which to me is disgusting. I like I said, I worked in a meat department. There is definitely an audience of aged beef. There's people that buy and pay high dollar for aged beef. I understand that audience exists, but I'll tell you from a grocery store, when I worked at Safeway in Sacramento, California, we sold Wagyu, we sold USDA Prime. There are so many restaurants in this nation, I can almost guarantee it, that sell overprice their beef and mismark what it actually is graded as. If you get a prime beef sandwich or if you see a prime beef steak, you need to actually ask the restaurant, is this USDA prime? Because more times than not, it is not USD prime. And for the record, I prefer USD prime over Wagyu. If you see a piece of Wagyu from Japan, it's so marbleized that there's less red meat. I want red meat in my meat. I don't want to have a piece of fat with some red meat on it just because it's more tender and juicy. That's basically what Wagyu is to me. It's like Wagyu to me is like buying a big old bottle of an alcoholic drink that has one shot of vodka in it, but you can't taste the liquor. No, I want straight liquor. No, I'm not going to go eat London broil raw, but in terms of high quality beef, I prefer prime over Wagyu. So they sell aged Wagyu for $700 a family and blah, blah, blah. Cool, good for them. I'm not going to insult them further than that. But in terms of being a restaurant of God, claiming to be a Jewish restaurant, and your general manager going this whole spiel about how he's about his money and treating people fairly and paying people fairly is a complete joke. You're liars. You didn't treat me fairly. You didn't treat me with respect. You tried to pay me to do a job that I wasn't paid to do, and you completely lied to my face multiple times. So just like, wait, what?